no idea how to solve a Rubik's Cube. What is up, homies? My name is Felix, and I'm here back again with yet another video for you all today. And in this video, I'm basically going to be teaching you guys the sauce, the little secret sauce, on how to get a very nice and clean and professional sounding mix on your beats. So this video today is not going to be a full mixing and mastering tutorial. I'm not going to show you like how to mix your entire beat from start to finish, but I am going to go through a little bit of the process and give you guys a lot of tips and tricks on how to get rid of that really gross, crunchy, muddy kind of sound that you get when your kick, your 808, and your melody are all playing at the same time. Hopefully this video will help out quite a few of you, because I know definitely for me, I struggled for a long time to get that really gross, kind of muddy, crunchy sound out of my beats. Also, the main big secret thing is something that I don't see a lot of producer people talk about, considering that it's more of like a mixing / audio engineering type thing. But yeah, anyways, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I've produced, my beats from my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you guys want to. Also, a few of you guys in the past have asked me why I don't upload the beats that I make in my videos, and I think I'm actually going to start uploading some of those older beats onto my beat channel. So if you guys want to check out some of my other beats and maybe listen to some beats that I've made in the past, the link to that channel will be down in the description. But yeah, now we can get into this video. So I'm using FL Studio for this video, but however, these tips and tricks will apply to literally any DAW that you're using. It's pretty universal, just some of the controls might be a little bit different. But anyways, this is the beat that we're working with here today. I cooked this up right before I started making this video. So as you can hear, it does not sound very great right now. And that's because I've pretty much done absolutely no mixing on this track so far. So the first thing about having a muddy mix in general is that a lot of people sometimes think that it comes from your kick and 808, but it really doesn't. So when we played this beat earlier, you heard that there was some crunch and some gross kind of sounds to it. But if we play the 808 and the kick together, it'll sound fine. As you can hear, it's pretty much fine. There's not a lot of clashing going on there. But when you're picking your samples, you want to make sure that you're picking good quality drum samples to start out with, so you don't have to do a lot of like EQing or any other like messing with the drum sounds. But anyways, as I was saying, a lot of the gross frequencies that you're hearing are really coming from like one main area where the 808 and the melody kind of overlap in the mid-range. To kind of illustrate what I'm talking about, here is an EQ for the whole melody and the 808 together. If we boost the frequencies right around this range, you'll hear those gross, muddy frequencies a lot more. And before we actually even get into the mixer and the main secret sauce that I'm going to show you guys, there's a couple things that you can do before you even touch any of these faders or add any effects plugins at all. And the first thing is with your melody. So I'm going to assign all this stuff to a mixer track by going like this and then hitting Control L. And this way I can show you guys the frequencies for each individual sound. And that's really going to be a common theme for today, is the frequencies within your melody, because that's really what's causing this kind of muddy sound. So one technique that you can do, like I said, before you even mix anything, is making sure that none of your melody sounds are overlapping in the frequency space unless they're layered. So essentially that means that if I have this piano right here, you can see what the frequencies look like. We don't want to add too many more sounds that are heavy on the frequencies in this same area. So we can add stuff maybe up here in this frequency range, maybe we can add a bass or something like that, but we don't want to crowd this frequency space unless we're layering. Because when you layer stuff, you're playing the exact same notes, which means that you're also playing pretty much the exact same frequencies. So let's take this sound right here, for example. This sound right here, as you can see, is taking up pretty similar frequencies as that piano, except for it's a little bit higher, like it's a little bit brighter, so it's gonna fill out kind of a different frequency space. And also you shouldn't have to worry too much, because a sound like that is playing the exact same notes. I literally just copied and pasted the same chords from the piano to that pad sound. So with these two sounds right here, you can pretty much already hear that they're taking up the same frequency space, but however, once again, it doesn't really matter because I just copied and pasted those same chords for both of those, so they're all just layers on top of each other. But however, you start to run into problems when you have sounds like this. As you can hear, it's like a pretty weird bass sound, and you can see right here that it takes up very similar frequencies as that piano and some of the lower end of those two pads. But however, this still isn't really like the biggest culprit for that muddy kind of gross sound, because it's actually just following the bass notes of the piano melody. So it's still technically like a layer, but however, just because of the nature of the plugin and the way that the sound is designed and stuff, there's other frequencies that are coming in there as well and kind of clashing with our piano and with our pads. Which is also kind of an important thing to mention, is that every different sound you use, they're still going to have some other frequencies here and there that might cause some clashing, but don't worry, because that kind of stuff is what we're going to fix at the end. So really the main problem, the main culprit, the main suspect for this really gross muddy sound that we don't want is counter melodies and leads and other extra stuff like that. This is pretty much what always causes this kind of muddy sound, because if we look at the frequencies on this lead right here, you can see in the EQ thing that it's pretty much like a laser beam of frequencies in one spot, and that one spot just so happens to be where the piano is sitting and where the pad is sitting and all that other stuff is kind of sitting. And you can see where this would cause some problems because it's playing kind of all different notes than the other layered sounds. This is the only thing so far that's not just a copy and paste layer. So because of this, a lot of times what people will do with their leads or their counter melodies or whatever is they'll pitch them up way higher so that they're in a totally different frequency space than your main chords or melody or whatever. So when we do this, you can see it moves the location of where the main frequencies are playing. And already it sounds like we have a little bit more space on our track and it's a little bit less muddy. So another tip that I can give you, which is honestly really basic, but however it is really important, is that sometimes this can be fixed by adjusting the volume. So if we just listen to the pads and the piano, we're really not getting as much of that muddy sound. But once we add these other things in, it really causes that problem. So what we can do is just turn these down a lot and see if that makes any difference. As you can hear, it's already a lot better. So sometimes this really does just come down to leveling and adjusting your sounds to where they need to be. But obviously that's not going to be a perfect fix every time. So another kind of trick that you can use is something I do with literally every melodic sound in a beat. And that's just cutting out the low end from every sound in your melody. So what I'll do with each and every sound is I'll just go through here, bring this down so we have like a shelf kind of thing. And then we just drag it. And we want the sound to stay pretty much the same. We don't want to affect it too much. As you can hear, we can cut the frequencies right about there and it'll still sound basically the same. And then also with the sounds like the pads that we have here that don't have barely any bass frequencies at all, we can make our low end cut a lot higher. So as you can see, we'll bring it up to like here. So let's say you do all the things I showed you, or maybe you don't want to have your lead higher up, or you don't want to have your counter melody higher up. Well, that's fine because I'm going to show you guys the big secret technique here. So basically, you're going to select every single one of your melody tracks by hitting Control and then dragging over them. And then you're going to find an empty mixer track and go down to the bottom and right click and do route to this track only. So now what we have going on here is every one of these sounds is going into this track. So if we turn this track off, none of the melody will play. What I actually like to do is move this over here and then change it to a weird color or something, just so that you know what it is. And then you're gonna go over here, you're gonna get an EQ. So now in your EQ, you're gonna go to the bottom knob on all of these except for the end ones, and you're just gonna drag it all the way down. And this just makes it so that when you drag these up, these are really skinny. And actually to make them even skinnier, what you can do is you can click on this dot right here and drag it all the way down. And then this will actually be a lot thinner than the original one. But that doesn't totally matter that much. And basically what we're gonna do is we're going to EQ out the resonating frequencies. So resonating frequencies are just those gross frequencies that you get when you stack multiple sounds, melodic sounds on top of each other. So the way that we're gonna find those frequencies to get rid of is we're going to drag one of these up and then we're just gonna click and drag over the sound while we play it to try to find those frequencies. And you'll know the frequencies when you hear them. It's just going to be like a ringing sound or like some sort of gross sound that you don't want in there. And I'll show you an example. You can hear right there's a really loud kind of ringing or tinny kind of sound, and you just don't want that. So once you find a resonating frequency, you just want to click off of this thing and then go over to here, this little slider, and then you're going to drag the slider down however much you think you need to. You're not going to go all the way to the bottom like this because that's going to be too dramatic and it's going to affect your sound way too much. So it's going to be from a range of like negative 1.5 decibels to like negative 7 if it's really super extreme. And inside FL Studio, you can see the decibel number in the top left of your screen. In other DAWs, it might show it inside the EQ or in whatever other place, but it doesn't really matter the specific number of decibels that you cut out. It just matters that you do it pretty minimally. Like I said, not usually anything over 7 decibels. Like 7 decibels is pretty extreme. So now that we've done that once, we're just gonna do it a bunch more times for however many more resonating frequencies there are. So right there we have kind of a ringing. We're just gonna drag it down. Right here we have some ringing too. We're gonna cut it again. So usually when you do this, it's gonna be most efficient to go left to right, and you also wanna go from one to another pretty close together. It's gonna be a little sloppy and unorganized to EQ out like one frequency here, and then have to go back into here, find the frequency in there. So this one right here, really loud ringing sound. We're probably gonna bring this one down by maybe like 5. This might be a 5er right here. Also, you can forget what I said earlier about not using the ones on the end. Those ones you can also drag the bandwidth all the way down, and then just make sure that this shape looks like the other ones, so it's gonna look like that, and then you'll be pretty much good to go. So inside FL Studio, once you've used all the bands on the EQ that you could possibly use, you'll have to load up a new EQ and do the exact same thing, which is why it might be a smart idea to save an EQ preset where all of these knobs are turned down and all of these are set to 0, so that you don't have to drag the knobs down every single time you put in a new EQ. But if you're using other fancier EQs, you might have like a 20 band EQ or something and you won't have to worry about that. Also, it might just depend on your track too, like maybe you have 4 resonating frequencies and you don't even have to worry about it. But yeah, anyways, that's pretty much the main little secret that I have here for you guys today. But as you can hear, our whole beat sounds way cleaner now. However though, the last resort, the last thing I'm going to show you guys, if maybe this didn't work at all, maybe you have like 100 million different sounds and there's so many resonating frequencies that the whole thing is just one resonating frequency. One thing that you can do is sidechaining your kick and your melody. So a lot of people talk about sidechaining your kick and your 808, but to clear up a lot of that muddy sound, I find it way more effective to sidechain your kick and your melody. So to do that, you're just going to click on your kick and then go right here, click on this, and then drag it down, and then you're going to go into the whole melody thing and just put a limiter on it, and then go to the compressor tab, and then right click, and then go to the kick, and then you're going to turn the knee all the way up, the ratio all the way up, and then the sustain and the release down pretty far. And then the threshold is basically the level at which the kick will start bringing all the volumes down, which is what we're doing here, basically having all the melody volumes drop down when the kick hits. So it's up to you how much you adjust this, but I'm just going to do it like right at the top of the melody. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for all my little tips and tricks, my little secret sauce on how to make your mixes super clean and super nice. If for some reason none of the stuff that I showed you here today worked, what you can do is go like this. But anyways, that's pretty much going to do it for me in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope I was able to help you out with at least 1 or 2 of these little tips and tricks. But yeah, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I produced, my beat store, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you guys want to. And I will see you guys next time.
Baby, come follow me. We could go somewhere.